So there's a series of tapes called the Afton Robotics archive by the YouTuber WOLFTRAP, and it's kind of underrated. What starts off as a normal FNAF VHS series becomes a series of videos that honestly are pretty terrifying and interesting to watch. It has some elements that I like to see in these types of series where it gives us these tidbits of lore, but also gives us some unique and creative takes on the FNAF VHS tapes. If you end up liking this video, give it a like and comment Bonnie's Buns, or let me know your thoughts on the series in the comments. It helps out a bunch. And I'll be linking the series in the description so y'all can check it out for yourselves and find out your own secrets within the series. But moving on, these tapes are split into 2 parts with Season 1 and Season 2. So let's go ahead and jump into the first episode titled Party. Party starts us off in a house with the Funtime Foxy animatronic, in which we see it doing what I assume is some test movements before, well, this happens. So we see Funtime Foxy malfunctions and ends up causing the death of an unknown individual. So not too much to go off lore-wise, but it is interesting to see an animatronic inside of a person's house rather than a factory or a pizzeria. It makes it even more scary thinking about one of these things inside of a safe place being your home. The second tape in the series is called Hidden. This tape we find ourselves in the pizzeria, in which we get a text that says, "Help me." And throughout this tape, we see Springtrap following this person as they stalk and eventually end up ending this person at the end of the tape. Unlucky. We can already assume that these tapes are not in a particular order in terms of the story and rather footage from different points in time, which as we go along, we'll put the pieces together. Episode 3 is titled Incident Report, in which we watch as Bonnie plays on stage, but as this happens, he begins to freak out a bit, and then it cuts to the text, Incident Report, where we see Bonnie now in a different area to probably figure out why he's malfunctioning.
Due to an unfortunate accident involving an employee, Bonnie will need to be cleaned out. Be sure to be thorough.
So it can be hard to tell what was said in this part, so I tried my best to understand it, but also at the end of the tape it says to rewind, because at the end Bonnie says something in reverse, I believe. So the only thing I could understand from this part is something along the lines of an employee needs to be cleaned out. But even after playing the rest in reverse, I still could not understand anything being said. So if anyone could figure out what was said, please let me know in the comments below. Part 4 of the series is called Case Evidence, in which you get probably the most terrifying part of the series so far, and I'll just let this part play out. So we watch as Springtrap comes across a security guard and stops the door from closing on him. He obviously ends up ending the security guard's life, and it's honestly pretty terrifying to hear. But at the end of the tape, we end up getting text again saying, rewind tape. But there's nothing I could decipher or any hidden messages I could find in this one, so if anyone in the comments again could let me know if you find anything in this episode specifically, that would be awesome. Tape 5 is called Fredbear's Family Diner Employee Introduction Tapes, in which you get an introduction tape for new night guards, giving them the basic information on being a night guard at Fredbear's Family Diner. The tape interrupts for a second and we get this shot of Springtrap in the darkness, before getting information on the pay for new employees and good googly moogly $3.35 an hour. No, could not be me. I'm good. Of course, we get information that says that Fazbear Entertainment is not responsible for injuries such as grotesque maiming, dismemberment, impalement, exposure to toxic chemicals, and or gas. Because, you know, why would they be held liable? The tape then transitions to an image of a person, of what we will come to know as William Afton in this series. Following this, we get another tape, but for the day shift employees, in which we are shown a variety of jobs for the day shift until we get to one particular one.
And most most sought after. Springblock suit perform.
So obviously being the performer for Spring Bonnie is not the moves, but we also find out that the people who work the day shift get paid a whopping $2.25 an hour. I didn't know Mr. Krabs was running the joint, but in terms of this tape, we get the idea that there has been an accident with the Spring Bonnie suit. Following this, we get tape 6. We learn immediately from the beginning that a child has died at Fredbear's Family Diner. And from the description, we learn that it has been closed, but is now reopened under new management, under one Henry Emily. We learn about the safety protocols of moving Fredbear, in which the employees, if an accident were to occur, are not to contact the authorities, but only call Henry Emily, as well as not calling William Afton, because he has quote-unquote quit. We see that Spring Bonnie does not have the same protocols, but we are cut off and see this conversation between William and probably Henry, in which he says William didn't deserve what happened to him, referring to some past incident. Henry then discusses with William that he should not quit, but William says that Henry and his ideals do not align with his, and that he will go about on his own endeavors. This story so far seeming to follow a lot of the plot points of the original FNAF storyline with some slight alterations. For now. Tape 7 is titled Fredbear's Family Diner 1979 Grand Opening, in which we see someone walk around Fredbear's at night, before we get a close-up of Spring Bonnie. Then we hear a phone call from Fredbear's Family Diner to one Joanna Chaplin, in which we find out that the co-founder's son has died. This, I assume, is either William Afton's son when the place closed the first time, only because of the incident mentioned in episode 6, meaning that this tape most likely takes place before tape 6, unless this is alluding to the idea that Henry's son has died instead. This along with the mention of the restaurant shutting down. But we will continue on with episode 8 titled Fredbear's Family Diner Reopening Employee Tape. Tape 8 brings us to another informational tape that tells new employees about the reopening of Fredbear's Family Diner, in which we learn about new animatronics without exposed endoskeletons, this being an attempt to not scare children. Everything seems okay with the tape until we get this.
Now I will tell you a story. There was once a boy who loved baskets. He would create his own costumes to wear and show to friends and family. He wanted to construct them for companies. When he grew up, when he turned 16, he was offered a job at his favorite restaurant. He was offered the position of basket performer. He immediately took the job, feeling accomplished and proud of himself. When he started his job, he was amazed at the intricate design of the suits. He loved performing and making people laugh every night. But one night, something went wrong. There was a water leak in the ceiling of the stage he performed on. When a water droplet landed on his suit, as he was performing, he was suddenly...
So from this, we learn of someone who would perform in the Fredbear suit, who would have water land on the suit while performing, and the spring lock mechanism would malfunction and most likely end their life. Due to this being after the reopening, we can assume that this is Henry Emily that was inside the suit. This is the last tape in season 1. And overall, the story seems pretty clear so far, with this series jumping between before and after William Afton's and Henry Emily's departure from each other, which we learned that the son of William Afton died, which led to him to depart from the company. But it also could be Henry's son. With this, we learned of the possible death of Henry Emily in the Fredbear costume, and that from the tapes of Spring Bonnie throughout the series so far, that William Afton also got spring locked, but survives inside the suit. But we have yet to see the incident where this happens. So we'll go ahead and jump into Season 2, Episode 1, titled The First Go. This part of the series jumps to the opening of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, in which you get a look at the new animatronics. The first being Freddy, and showing a test that obviously goes wrong. And when being introduced to the other animatronics in an informational tape, we are shown Chica before it zooms in, and we see what looks like to be the deformed and rotted mouth of a human inside. Then, this. So this shows us a victim who now lives inside the Chica animatronic, and how they are not dead, but still alive. I can only assume that this is the work of Afton and might be the first victim in the series so far, showing how he is a much more disturbed individual as per usual. Tape 2 of Season 2 is titled Welcome Home, and this part of the series was really well made with the setup and how everything unfolds in this part. We watch as a kid tells us that no one came to his birthday as he sits in the pizzeria alone. He tells us that it was okay because his friend was there for him before this scene plays out. What disturbs me about this part is that towards the end, we hear the sounds of laughter, while on the censored photo of the kid who was murdered by Foxy. We are not given the identity of the child, but we are given the date, being April 12th, 1996. So we have definitely taken a leap in time from 1979, which is when Fredbear's Family Diner opened in the series. Season 2, Episode 3 is called Hurricane Fun Zone Maintenance Service, where we learn of a disturbance in the construction zone of the Fun Zone main hall. We then follow the POV of an employee who's tasked with finding the disturbance. They investigate this building, which looks humongous and looks nothing like the local pizzeria area that we have come to know so far. Rather similar to the Pizzaplex, but darker and more disturbing. This person walks to the place where the disturbance is supposed to be located before coming across the stage with the withered versions of the animatronics. He comes to the assumption that the lights are the issue and chooses to restart the power. Seems like just normal routine, but this happens.
Alert! An unknown entity has entered your proximity. Please return to the service elevator as...
The animatronics have gone missing, as well as a notification given to him that there are hostile animatronics in the area. He heads out, but as he does, something comes after him. He's chased by this long metallic hand and attempts to get to the service elevator, in which he does make it and says that he quits. Now, I'm not sure when this takes place or where this is due to the person taking a service elevator to get to it. This almost looks underground and liminal. Buzzword moment. Do your soy jack faces now, everyone. He said the thing. All we can assume is that this season, again, is jumping between points in time. Overall, I'm just wondering what this long metallic arm is. I could not think of anything that this could be, and I've not seen anything like it in the series so far, or any other series, so we'll just have to put a pin in it, but I am interested to find out what this thing is. So moving on, we have the next tape titled Helpless. And this tape does not have too much going on for the most part, with the video being of someone at the Fazbear Frights location, testing the cameras and sound system, before one malfunctions. This tape jumping all the way to September 23rd, 2002, with this person being stuffed inside of a Fredbear animatronic by Springtrap, And again, we hear the sounds of laughter yet again, which could allude to the idea that this being the laughter of the victims of William Afton. The next tape is titled Blackened. This tape takes us back to Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria, in which we have a night guard watching the place, but with this we learn that the animatronics are out for maintenance, but endoskeletons still remain. This giving us this scene with an endoskeleton deciding to wake up. This endoskeleton having bunny ears, bro wishes he could be me, and chasing the security guard back into the office. This being the first incident of the night before another follows. This time we watch as the power goes out in the building, and when going to investigate, he stumbles across the endoskeleton again. The last shot shows us that the endoskeleton has taken the skin of the night guard's face and placed it on its body. The date is March 23rd, 1993. So this means it takes place 3 years before the Welcome Home tape where the kid was offed by Foxy. The thing about this endoskeleton is that we don't see any body inside of it like the other animatronics, and rather it just hunts for victims, but it seems to still be haunted, which would be the first time we see that in this specific series. Season 2, Episode 6 is titled Silent Scream. This being a tape that follows a person watching over Freddy's for the weekends while waiting for renovations. This time the animatronics are there, and we are also at the FNAF 2 location and not FNAF 1. When exploring the area, he stumbles across a note that says, "The fox hates the light, the bear stops when looked at, the chicken is easily distracted, and the bunny is blind." He continues to explore the pizzeria, and this happens. This tape is pretty horrifying, with this night guard ending up making the worst decisions possible and not staying in his office. He ends up dying to Fredbear, but before this, there's a message on the TV. "You're not supposed to be here." Who this is from is unknown, but I'm willing to guess it's the dead children speaking through the TV. But this tape takes place on April 15th, 1987. And we see a shot of the night guard's lifeless body in the room we last saw them in. The last episode to come out of this series so far is titled Harvester of Sorrow. This by far being my favorite episode in the series. So let's jump straight into it. It starts with part 1, titled Mail, in which we watch as someone gets an invitation on their computer to go to Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, and shows up to the pizzeria at night. Following this, we get part 2, titled The Visit, where we get brief info on how someone had broken into the establishment and was redacted, so most likely dead. But the camera footage is still intact. We watch as they wander around the establishment, but when they do, we get a separate shot of the Foxy animatronic waking up. We then follow the person into the kitchen and through the place. This part had me clenching, I'm not gonna lie, but we continue on and we cut to the security camera footage where the animatronics disappear from their stage. Person comes across a mangled Foxy with a paper plate on his face, and what looks like to be the torture mask from the FNAF movie. The lights begin to flicker and go out, and then this. Their body had been disposed of, and we were given info on how the body was lacerated, especially on the face due to the operating chair. It was then transported to remnant harvesting in the facility of, well, the location of sister location. This part then alluding to them becoming entered. Now this series I believe is still being worked on, but from what we can gather that this does not follow a lot of the story beats of the original FNAF series, but with some alterations to fix their narrative. With a lot of unanswered questions and a lot to unpack that we have yet to see. With the main one being that we have yet to see certain events happen like William Afton being spring-locked or knowing if Henry Emily is still alive, or has become an animatronic as well. I also thought that William Afton was the cause of Henry's death and it wasn't so much an accident. Then we also have the episode with the big under construction theme park and the long metal hand that chased the employee and what that could be. Also understanding when that tape takes place would be a great detail to know. But anyways, I like this series. It really had some cool moments, and I felt it got better as the episodes went on. And I can't wait to see what the series has to offer in the future, and make sure you go check out WOLFTRAP in the description below. Thank you for watching, and I'll see y'all later.